Yes, indeed. Welcome to another day in a South Pacific paradise, Surfers Paradise, Australia, where the Honda Indy 300 weekend thus far has seen broken traffic cones, broken lap records, broken hearts, and broken race cars. You can't fence the champ cars in. Those Surfers may be the most hedonistic race weekend of the season, and though the title has already been clinched, the skirmish over the championship standings with 3 races left has every driver pushing the limit and beyond. In first round qualifying, Paul Tracy had the hot hand, breaking teammate Dario Franchitti's lap record, while Franchitti found the wall and languishes at the back. 3 different drivers brought out red flags with crashes before Bruno Junqueira bumped Tracy for provisional pole with another record lap. In the closing moments, all eyes, well, almost all eyes, were on Cristiano Damata, who used every inch of road but came up short. Will Junqueira hold on for pole? The surf is up on the blue Pacific, but the white sand beaches of Surfers Paradise, Australia are nearly empty as another massive crowd has made its way to the circuit walls on one of the world's greatest street circuits. Welcome to final qualifying for the Honda Indy 300. It's a busy sports weekend in Australia, but the highlight here in Queensland is the Honda Indy 300, and we are about to set the field with 30 minutes of green flag qualifying. It's a much warmer day than it was yesterday in the opening round of qualifying when Bruno Junqueira took provisional pole. Let's get things started now, down in the pit lane with our own Crocodile Double D, Derek Daly.
G'day, mate. Just had some good tucker. Hope I don't get crook. Lots of bloody Sheilas about, as you can see. No worries. You know, the Australians definitely have their own brand of slang, which is very colourful, which dovetails perfectly with their desire and their ability to party, and it's gone on all week long here. Down through Surfers Paradise, every night we have a carnival. 9 o'clock every evening, there's fireworks all across the beach. And of course, yesterday in qualifying, Cristiano Damata, our champion, was a non-factor. Believe it or not, even though 113,000 people have come here so far in 2 days, 53,000 came on Thursday just to watch open practice for the support series, yet Damata was not a factor in front of all those people. But you know what, this morning in practice, he was the fastest man on the racetrack. That bodes well for second round of qualifying coming up in just a few minutes. Now, with more on the man he was chasing, let's go down to Calvin Fish. Calvin?
Well, Double D, as you said, the championship is wrapped up for Cristiano Damata, but there's a very intense battle for second in points, and it's led by Bruno Junqueira, Cristiano's friend from Brazil. Now, Bruno had a very good day here yesterday, provisional pole, a new track record, but more importantly, that locks him into the front row for tomorrow's race, whatever happens here this afternoon. But for his nearest pursuers in the championship, not such a good day. Dario Franchitti all started in practice, clutch problems, and they reared their head once again when qualifying began. So Dario then switched to his backup car. He's very unhappy with the setup. Actually voiced his opinions to the team very strongly. Crunched the wall, he ended up 17th. Now, Patrick Carpentier, the Reynards always struggle on the bumps on the street courses. He clips a curb, runs down the escape route, hits the tires. And for Christian Fittipaldi, he wants to catch his teammate, be second in points at the season's end, but he had electrical problems, ran back here to pit lane to switch to the backup car, but time ran out. So for those 3 guys, they really need a much better afternoon here today if they're going to catch Bruno in the championship, Bob.
All right, thanks very much, Calvin. Let's extend our own welcome from high above start finish. I'm Bob Varsha, along with Tommy Kendall and Scott Pruitt, the 97 winner of the Honda Indy 300 here in Surfers. Yesterday, Scott, in first round qualifying, we saw guys pushing the limit, and several of them paid for it.
That's exactly right. Surfers is one of those places that rewards aggression. As we've seen here in every session so far, these guys have got to get it done. No question at all. Here you have a look of kind of some of the leftovers. A pylon was actually ripped off. You've seen some of the pieces. Oriole drives right over the top, cutting the corner there.
And those bolts proved to be a huge hazard for the race cars, so the CART Simple Green safety team went out there, and look at this.
I want one of those knives.
Oh, man. There's your basic Ginzu. You can shave with that thing. They had those things out in no time and then pulled up the bolts as well at several of the corners around the racetrack. Scott, I would expect that would mean we may see some faster times today. These guys are really going to push it without those cones there.
Faster times, and we raced here over the years. When they had those cones out there, you slowed down until they were gone. When they were gone, you actually would pick up a half second, 3/4 second. In fact, here's a real good shot of Cristiano after they've taken the cones out. Let's use up just a little bit more racetrack.
They've laid out those tire mats. Those, I expect, can do some damage. Here's a look at the practice times from this morning. Cristiano D'Amata, by 1,000th of a second, was quicker than Bruno Junqueira's provisional pole time yesterday. Kenny Breck and Scott Dixon have been quick all weekend. Of course, Dixon from New Zealand is the home favorite, you might say, here in Surfers Paradise. There's Bruno Junqueira in fourth. That Adrian Fernandez, who has also been quick. Several drivers still having problems, though. Christian Fittipaldi up to mid-pack. But look at Dario Franchitti and Jimmy Vasser. Franchitti has been through 3 clutches in one race car alone through the weekend. He is not a very happy Scotsman. And now we turn to Tommy Kendall. Tommy, what do you expect to see unfold now in this second qualifying?
Well, as Scott said, perhaps more than any other circuit we go to, aggression here pays dividends. And perhaps perhaps the most aggressive driver in all of motorsports, Paul Tracy, in addition to his natural blend of aggression, he's got even more because of the tension that is bubbling beneath the surface at Team Cool Green. Officially, there's nothing going on, but if you believe the talk, there's fines going on behind the scenes, a major gag order in place for Paul Tracy. If you know Paul the way I do, that's got to come out somewhere. And sometimes it boils over and he blows his lid. Here, he can channel that into the racetrack and pull out a phenomenal lap like he did yesterday. That lap he did early in the session, it looked like no one was going to touch. Bruno pipped him just at the end, but look for Paul to channel that into a mega lap today.
And I agree, Team Cool Green definitely bears watching with 3 races to go in the 2002 season. Now we're going to take a quick break. Here is this year's Miss Honda Indy 300, Lauren Lilly, and there is one of her colleagues and rivals for that title. It's a busy weekend. Elvis is in the house. We'll be back. Speed Channel's coverage of the CART FedEx Championship Series is brought to you by New Campbell's Chunky Roasted Favorites, hearty soups that fill you up right. By Bridgestone, advanced technology that gives you a grip on the future. And by FedEx, proud sponsor of the FedEx Championship Series. Welcome back to Surfers Paradise, about 70 miles south of the city of Brisbane on the east coast of Australia. You see a part of the massive air show that's been going on all weekend long. There's always something going on here in Australia, and there's something going on in the pit lane. Here's Derek Daly.
Always going on when you're any time around Paul Tracy. Paul, you are probably the most spectacular man in motor racing. Yesterday was actually quite good. The pole was only lost in the last minute, but I think you had more speed from what I heard afterwards.
No, we did. We had a lap that was a couple tenths up, but I made a mistake on the lap and ran through one of the chicanes and lost all the time. But we really didn't get a lot of good running this morning. We made some changes that I wasn't happy with, and we had some electronics problems. So we basically went back to yesterday's setup, and I feel I can go faster than what I did yesterday, so we'll see what we can do.
Have you said anything wrong this weekend yet?
I'm not speaking, so.
But fellas, I mean, I know you admired my hat, but you got to admire his hat, right? Absolutely. Calvin?
Well, I'm down here with Bruno Junqueira. He's trying to get his suit on right here, looking very relaxed. Bruno, we saw you out playing a little bit last night with the karaoke, and I think you better stick to the racing, buddy. I'm not sure about your performance on stage last night.
My performance on stage last night was really bad, but luckily I had always a very nice lady next to me, then it looks good. But today it's gonna be good. The track will be much faster because they take out the cones, and for sure it'll be much faster through the chicanes. Then I have to kind of try to improve my time from yesterday.
Now, Paul Tracy was teasing you last night. He said he's going to really take one over on you today and put it on the pole. Do you think he's got the time in that Cool Green car?
He has a chance to try.
And how's your car handling this morning? I think you're 4th or 5th fastest. Your teammates looking strong as well.
Yeah, I had an electronic problem in my car. I almost didn't run. And then I went out. I think I could be faster today. I was in a very hot lap. But Scott Dixon blocked me, and I couldn't get the best lap. But let's go qualify and see what's happened.
All right, Bruno, good luck this afternoon. As you can tell, boys, he's pretty relaxed down here in Oz.
No question about that, about as relaxed as I've seen him all year long. It's kind of ironic that CART was originally going to build up those curbs. Instead, they have laid them down. The track today is almost certainly going to be faster. Be sure to join us for our race coverage of the Honda Indy 300. It'll be coming your way Saturday live here on Speed Channel. Our pre-race show begins at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 8:30 for you folks on Pacific Time. The race will flag off about midnight Eastern. We'll be back in a moment to Surfers Paradise.
Welcome back, everybody, to the sunshine of Surfers Paradise, Australia. Here with a man who in 1994, Michael, you drove a Reynard and it looked like a Sherman tank because you hit everything possible to hit and still won. I mean, great memories of those days.
Oh, that was a big day for us. I'll tell you, that was, still one of those races that'll always stick out, coming back after, the stint in Formula One and winning the first race back with Reynard the first time out in it. It was a big day.
But Michael, for a street race, this is unusual in as far as it appears to reward aggressive driving.
That's what I really like about it. I mean, you have to really hold your breath to go fast here, and when you do hold your breath and you do take it in, 10 feet deeper, it pays you back in lap time, and I really like tracks like that.
You've been on the pole here in the past. What does it take? I mean, how much is the setup, the technical setup that you have to give yourself before you actually rely on your instincts and your reflexes?
It's a combination of all that, because everybody's holding their breath just about the same amount, so the difference is the car, and, you still have to have it work for you, but, but that's the way it is just about everywhere. But here, though, I could say that if you are an aggressive driver, you will get rewarded.
In the top 10 yesterday, are there many changes made to the car, Michael, or are you going to try and put a better lap together? I hope the track gets better.
Yesterday, I think we had a car capable of third or so on the grid, but I ran into traffic, and I'm sure a lot of guys could say the same thing, but the car felt really good yesterday. And then this morning we made a big change during the session, and it didn't work, and so we hardly did any laps this morning because of that. But so we're back to where we were yesterday, basically.
You like my hat?
No.
Okay, back to you, fellas.
There you go, a rare thing, an honest man. Here's a look down at the Honda Hill next to the Honda Hairpin, and a massive crowd is assembling. Here's a look at the winners of this race over the years. Among the drivers in this year's race, only Michael Andretti and Jimmy Vasser have raced as many as 10 of the 11 previous runnings of this race. Both men have won it. Michael finished second last year. Might be a good bet this year. We'll be back.
Welcome back to day 2 qualifying in Surfers Paradise. We're here with Peter Gibbons from Newman Haas. Peter, not a great day for you yesterday, Christian Fittipaldi in particular. What was wrong with his car, did you find out after the session yesterday?
An electrical problem, a short in the wiring there.
And why did you decide not to jump in the backup car?
Just for day 1, really pole is the only thing that counts. Today's going to be faster. It would have involved an awful lot of swapping, engine, gearbox. It just wasn't worth it. There were too many other questions with that car.
And Cristiano, 4th from provisional, and he said last night he was a little concerned about the braking of the car. Did you make any progress with that this morning? He was fastest.
Yeah, we've helped the car a lot. He's much happier.
And is it like the braking system itself or the suspension setup, how the car reacts to the road?
It's the setup.
Okay, mate, well, good luck this afternoon. Let's pop down to Double D.
Trying to get a word here with Alex Tagliani. And Tag, I know still trying to get your first that elusive win, but yesterday I stood here when you came in with just a major engine explosion. I mean, it looked just like a hand grenade went off.
Well, we were not very good on the setup, and that engine blow didn't slow us down a little bit, and we didn't have the chance to go out with the setup that we wanted to. So this afternoon, I think we'll be much better. This morning, the car was a lot better. We had a little brake problem on the new tires, so I think, our aim right now is in the top 7.
It strikes me no matter what happens, you still like Surfers Paradise for a lot of personal reasons.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good things. I mean, it's difficult to match the feeling that I had last year when I finished on the podium, and on top of that, I met my future wife. So it will be difficult to match this, but a better result than last year would be a lot better.
And we're all invited to the wedding, which is in Montreal, I believe. In January, is it?
Yeah, January 18.
Okay, we'll all be there. Thanks. Calvin?
Double D, Dario Franchitti has always been fast here down under, 1 here in 99. But Dario, not a good weekend so far. Clutch problems again this morning. How much can you learn from Paul Tracy and Michael on setup for this afternoon?
Well, we're running the same setup that Paul has just now, so hopefully that's going to work for us. But I just need track time.
Okay, they're going to fire this car up, get him out of there, so we'll go back up top.
All right, thanks very much, Calvin. It has been an absolutely brutal weekend for Dario Franchitti. 17th in yesterday's opening round of qualifying, 18th in this morning's practice. Very, very difficult weekend. Let's hope for better for the Flying Scot. Here's a program note. The German touring cars are coming your way here on Speed Channel. The Hockenheim round, Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Check it out. Wild German touring car series. Big crowd forming up on McIntosh Island in the midst of the street circuit here in Surfers. We'll be back. Welcome back to a breezy, warm, 90-degree day in Surfers Paradise. Cars are on track for 10 minutes of open practice. So check out the qualifying rules on road courses in the Kart FedEx Championship. After that 10-minute open practice, run as many laps as you want, pit as often as you like. There's a 10-minute break during which the teams can work on the Champ cars. And then we'll have a 40-minute qualifying session with 30 minutes of guaranteed green flag time. The drivers can only run a maximum of 15 timed laps. And if you cause a red flag, as 3 drivers did yesterday, you will lose your fast lap in the session. Here is Jimmy Vasser, one of 3 drivers who brought out the red flag yesterday. Patrick Carpentier and Dario Franchitti were the others, pulling onto the long front straight. Let's take a look at this 2.795-mile, 12-turn circuit. Scott Pruitt, why don't you take us around?
And this is a great track. Go down, start, finish, 195, 197 miles an hour. Through turn 1, 2. That's the areas you're taking these pylons away. Turn 3, heavy braking. This is where the guys are complaining a lot. They're having a lot of problem getting in as deep as they want to get into there and being able to get the car under control, get it stopped, get a turn, and come to throttle. Down through the back, 6, 5, 6, and 7. Again, they've taken the pylons out. Pretty clean going all through there, 174, 175 miles an hour. Then coming onto the front straight, long sweeper. Traction control is getting the workout.
See, it says 11 turns there. The computer takes the hairpin as a single turn, but the way I drive it, it's actually 2 distinct corners.
Dario's still on the racetrack. He's going to be a happy man. They've only been able to make about 1 or 2 laps before the clutch goes. I was talking to those guys just a few minutes ago before I came up here, and the same problem. 3 clutches in the same car. They said, we've run this car, had no problem whatsoever, and all of a sudden get it down here, and 3 clutches have parked us on the side.
Won his home race on the oval at Rockingham earlier this year. His 3 victories thus far. He would desperately love to win the home race for his team owner, Barry Green, before Green retires from team ownership, having sold the team to Michael Andretti for next year. Look at Kenny Brack, second quick in the morning practice. Through the hairpin and onto the front straight.
It'll be good to have this little bit of a session. Now that they've taken out all the pylons, these guys are going to be using up that much more of the racetrack. So they're going to have to be concerned not only with getting the right set, but not tearing the race car up before they get that fast lap.
Ironically, that is what led to all the changes this year. There used to be big bumps on top of the curbs, and a few of the guys got up and over them last year. They were damaging some tubs, so rather than leaving them there and saying, hey, don't go up there, you're going to damage your tub, they took them off, and that's what led to this sequence of evolution of the course, where they, as soon as they took those bumps away, the guys saw lap time, they went for the cones caused the problem, they took the cones away, they saw more lap time. So it's just one of these things, if you see an opportunity, if you don't do it, somebody else is going to do it, and so you have no choice unless you want to go to the back of the grid.
It's just ironic to me, the more things change, the more things remain the same. Back here in '96, Jimmy Vasser qualified first. I qualified second, was chasing, actually finished second in that race. The second lap of the race came through this turn right there. He cut one of those cones and went straight up over his car and right into my roll hoop and got stuck for the whole race.
That would be the cone, not the race car.
That would be the cone.
Look at Kenny Brack working the curbs.
All Ganassi's cars very fast here this weekend. Like second, third, and fourth this morning session.
That was the voice of the drive-thru at the local McDonald's. They're coming down Cerisier Avenue into the Honda hairpin.
Track's also real tough. There's so much crown in the road. It's very easy to lock up one of the front tires. A lot of drivers have had that problem over the years here, and especially here this weekend. In fact, we saw Carpentier yesterday actually burn a hole right through the front tire, just hard on the brake. It'd be very very careful with that if you're going to have a good set of tires for the race.
The way that flat spot works, once the wheel locks, it's like holding the tire against a belt sander, and it just sands away. When you have a low grip circuit like that we had in Denver, you could lock wheels and it wouldn't go through the rubber this quickly. But here it's very high grip, so a little bit of a flat spot burns its way all the way through, and that set of tires is junk. We saw Cristiano yesterday starting to get a little bit locked up, chose to go down the escape road to preserve those tires.
Michael Andretti, third lap now in the books. None worth noting, though. Down in 13th place thus far.
That was a decent look at the braking zone for turn 1. We saw 2 incidents there yesterday with Dominguez and Jimmy Vasser. And there's a bit more of a bend than you might think. It's not a straight braking zone. There's also a rise. The car goes up a little bit over a rise. It's pretty subtle, but it's enough to unweight first the front, then the back of the car. The guys are getting the rear brakes locked, and they have a little bit of rotation. The car rotates to the right when you want to be turning left into the wall.
Which is exactly what happened to Jimmy Vasser yesterday. A lot of damage on that car. They got it going again. Talked to Jimmy last night. He said, I think it was the same thing that happened to Cristiano. Got just a little bit of dirty air. Bam, locked up the rears, turning you right in the fence.
This is on the Esplanade through the first set of chicanes. On to Main Beach Parade. Headed for the double chicane. Beach is off to the left of your screen.
We talked about how much, and you heard Michael say it again in his interview about how aggression pays dividends here. We see Tony Kanaan down the escape road. I think that is in turn 3 where Cristiano went down yesterday. They're going to use a quick jack to spin him around.
That's one of the most heavy braking areas down into turn 3, and it's very easy to get in a little bit too deep, especially when you're trying to get that most out of that car. And a lot of guys have gone down in there.
That happened right after Kanaan turned the second fastest lap of the session thus far at 1 minute 32.942 seconds. Here's Scott Dixon, who just displaced Kanaan for second fastest, 132.532. And now Michel Jourdain Jr. goes to the top of the charts at 132.471. Dixon bucked to third.
This is just the warm-up session, so this is not for grid spots, but it gives you an indication of who's happy with their car.
Michel has been very happy with his car all weekend long. In fact, seen one of his best performances all season in qualifying.
It's amazing. Some lockup. There's another one of the areas where the guys are getting a lot of lockup. That's Scott Dixon coming down into the little wiggle right before the final left-hand corner, unweighting that right front tire. But Jourdain and Vasser almost overnight, Saturday to Sunday in Miami, those cars were like new race cars. They were very competitive in the race, were able to move forward, make positions, and it's carried over here to Australia. I talked to one of the guys who works on Michel's cars, and I said, did you guys make a breakthrough and discover something, do anything different? He says, no, we're kind of at a loss. We're not complaining about it, but the cars are very competitive.
Scott Dixon just answered, going to the top of the charts. First man in the 1 minute 31 second zone, 131.693. Michel Jourdain Jr. right there in front of you in the Gigante car is currently second. He was in the top 10 yesterday for only the second time in qualifying this year. The other time was the season opener on the streets of Monterrey, Mexico. So if he can stay in the top 10 in this afternoon's second round qualifying, it will only be a second top 10 start of the year.
Is it faster driving over the curve? I would say yes.
I would say so. That's a pretty good indication on tires that are not brand new. Scott Dixon runs within 0.2 of Bruno's time from yesterday.
Jourdain working on a string of 18 consecutive points-paying finishes over 2 seasons.
I was going to say, I thought he turned in there pretty confident.
That is a great thing about this track. It's a perfect example that it's been set up where you can be very aggressive with it, but you can make little mistakes like that and not tear up a race car.
What happens if you had a wall there, guys would come up to a point, and at some point the risk-reward ratio goes way upside down, and you just stop going for time there. You wouldn't try to push your braking 2, 3, 4 feet further. You get up to a spot where you just say, at this point, what I'm going to gain there is not worth the risk I'm going to take. Here, you can keep going and going and going, and you find that absolute limit. What I was starting to say about Michael, talking about how the aggression pays dividends, talking to every one of the drivers, they talk about it. You see Michel, he gets in, he was in a little bit of trouble. You saw him creeping away from the wall early, trying to buy himself a little bit of time. He turned in when he had to.
It was actually a pretty good save. Looked like the car wanted to swap ends on him. Jimmy Vasser smacking that tire mat on the backside.
You can see how that affects the car behind him, because when he goes across there, he drags a little bit of dirt onto the line. You saw Oriol Servia. You see it there with Michael Andretti. Oriol pushed wide, following right behind Jimmy.
Checkered flag waves over the session, and before it does, Cristiano D'Amata goes to the top of the charts at 1:31.251 seconds. That will be more than enough to grab pole position for the Honda Indy 300, assuming D'Amata can duplicate it in the qualifying session coming up in just a few moments. We have a 10-minute break and then the green flag for qualifying. Stay with us. Welcome back to a warm, sunny day in Queensland, Surfers Paradise, Australia. This weekend, you can catch the finale of the Trans Am Series for the BF Goodrich Tires Cup at Virginia International Raceway. It's live Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, only here on Speed Channel. Here in Surfers Paradise, we are in a break before we begin 40 minutes of qualifying with 30 minutes of green flag time guaranteed. We were pushed right to the limit yesterday due to 3 red flags. Hopefully we won't see that again today. To the pit lane and Derek Daly.
Here's a strange decision. These are brand new tires on Alex Tagliani's car because they didn't let him run in that session. They said they want to save tires. They are that necessary for race day tomorrow. I would have thought Tag needs a lot more running here. Have a look over here, though. We mentioned his fiance. This is Bronte Cock right here. She is Miss Indy. She's Miss Bartica. She's Miss all sorts of things, but she's going to be Mrs. Tagliani sometime in January.
Well, finally some good news for Dario Franchitti. The clutch problem seems to be solved on the Team Cool Green car, and the car is working very well. He's currently 5th in that little practice session, so a lot of hope here when qualifying rolls around. There are no straps or no fresh Bridgestones on the car for the qualifying run. Minor changes. He's talking to his engineer, Alan McDonald, on the radio, saying the car feels pretty good. Let's leave it alone for this first run. Let's go back down to Derek.
Just a quick update on Paul Tracy. He came in, said the biggest problem he has is the car is bottoming way too much all over the track, which is slowing him down. Interesting, Scott, and I know you've had this because I've had it also. He said the floor is getting very warm on the Jabrock wood. You could actually smell the wood burning when the floor got warm in these cars when you run the right heights too low.
Yeah, more than once, actually. Yeah, you run that sucker right on the ground, especially as you start out with new Jabrock. It smells for about 4 or 5 laps. But you got to do it. That's where most of the downforce is. You got to run those suckers right on the ground.
Jabrock is a wood composite, pressed composite, I guess you'd say. Of course, it's cheap, readily available. Good stuff to use for contact with the racetrack. Now let's meet the man of the weekend as far as the local fans are concerned. Standing by with Calvin Fish.
Well, Scott, another great run there in the practice session. Car has a lot of speed. Can you grab the pole from your teammate this afternoon?
I don't know, it'd be nice. You know, the guys have done a great job all weekend. You know, the car, we seem to have got a little better now. We didn't run to the end, but D'Amata was obviously fast too. So, you know, I think, you know, get a lap together, like a lot of the others are going to be trying as well. But it's going to be so close, I think. Very close, but I think the car's good enough.
You talked about the braking issues yesterday, giving you problems, slowing you down a little bit. What have you changed, and what do you really run here on the street tour, of course, to try and help that out?
We had, the problem with yesterday is we'd sort of cooked the brakes earlier on in the morning. We just had a long pedal. You know, it was fine at the start of qualifying yesterday, but towards the end, you know, it definitely got, you know, very long, and it was hard to downshift. So that was our problem yesterday. But today, you know, we put new pads in and a little more cooling. Everything seems to be working out.
All right, mate, good luck this afternoon. Let's go back down to Derek.
With another Australian glad to be home, racing in front of his home crowd. Kim Green runs the Motorola car for Michael Andretti. Kim, you sound very confident with Michael's car setup for this qualifying run.
No, certainly. I think yesterday we unloaded a really good race car. Didn't have to change much during practice, and in fact, he had a lap going in qualifying that would have put him faster than Paul. And then Tagliani ahead of him brushed the wall and slowed up. So the car is good. Around here, it's all about getting a clear lap, and obviously, as you know, this place getting rhythm over all the chicanes and all the bumps. And if we can do that, I think we've got a good shot of really being up there.
Good, thank you, Kim. I think that the key to what he said is the clear magic lap. Fellas?
That lap was very hard to find yesterday for just about everybody.
That's exactly right. This track it's interesting that way. With the Bridgestones, we continually talk all year long about, you know, getting that goody lap. But here it's so critical, and that rhythm. You know, that rhythm you need. I mean, Tommy, you know what it's like when you go out to qualify. I mean, you got to put that rhythm together to yank off that quick one.
You need to peak at the same time the tires do, and that's the one thing that Dario stated. He said, "I just need laps." And in a track where we talked about how the aggression pays off, well, aggression is a result of confidence. Confidence comes from having done it. If you don't have a lot of laps together, it's hard to call that up at the right time. But the thing that strikes me is because of the nature of this track, no one feels like they're out of it. Every guy we've talked to feels like they got a shot at the pole. They feel like the ball's in their court. They have the ability to make something magic happen. It's more in their hands, which they like.
All right, we're just a couple of moments away from the green flag to begin qualifying, but check this out. If you're a kart fan, you're going to want to be with us over the Thanksgiving holiday here on Speed Channel for encore presentations of all of the Kart FedEx Championship races that have appeared here on Speed Channel and on Fox. We aired back to back to back, beginning at Thanksgiving Day from 9 a.m. to 5 a.m. All the races from the season opener in Monterey to Denver. Then on Friday from 9 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. England through the season finale in Mexico City.
When you get there, you'll know.
Speed Channel's coverage of the Kart FedEx Championship Series is brought to you by Prudential Financial, growing and protecting your wealth. By Toyota, get the feeling. And by Circuit City. We know the excitement you feel about the latest digital toys. That's why we're here. Circuit City, we're with you. The green flag has waved, and we are seconds into this 40-minute qualifying session. And there is Tony Kanaan.
Qualifying is such a gamble. These guys have to go out at the right time to try and get that clear lap. Boy, how do you do it? You go out right away like this, and you probably see a number of cars going out here because they want to get at least one good lap in. If they go out right away, they can get the job done.
I thought it would be the cars further back down the grid, but Tony gridded 5th in yesterday's provisional qualifying. But he does have all that clear track in front of him.
Pioneer lower there. Working through the backside. This is a fun section of the track, but very, very tight. And he's coming up last turn before he comes on the front straight. This right there is where that braking into that turn is where it's so easy to lock up those fronts and burn a hole right through.
And that good launch onto the long front straightaway on the Gold Coast Highway here in Surfers Paradise. Beautiful shot here. John heads out, building up to a hot lap. Let's hear from Derek Daly.
You might be curious to know that the Bridgestone tires are about $1,600 a set because they're subsidized by Bridgestones. The budget for the year is about $250,000. Now, this tire is very similar to the one they ran in Denver and Miami. Yet the complaint there was so little grip. I asked Todd Boland, Jimmy Vassar's engineer, why that is. And he said the surface, the track surface and the friction of the surface here at Surfers Paradise has always been a high grip situation, which is very good for a street circuit because street racing requires soft compounds to get high grip, yet this relatively hard compound has always worked very, very well here because of the high friction surface they have in surface.
Interestingly enough, Derek, that I was talking to the engineers, the Bridgestone engineers about that tire, the Firestone that we ran here back in '97 when I won, and I said, how much different is that tire? He said, the construction's the same, everything's the same except we have just a little harder compound. He said it's a little harder, but no performance difference. So it's amazing they had such a great tire back then and continued to use that same basic construction.
Well, and once they ran all the other tire companies out by kind of out-competing them, there was no need. If they had to make those things quicker tomorrow, they could probably throw about 3-4 seconds on them. But
that's the easiest way to get speed.
I would venture to say that no other single element in motorsports technology these days affects the competition more than tires. Let's go to Calvin Fish.
Well, the configuration of this racetrack, Bob, is very hard on the brakes. A lot of 6th and 5th gear down to 2nd gear. And it's really generating very high brake temperatures. I spoke to the PFC man a little while ago. He said we're seeing 1,800 degrees on the brakes, and that's a real concern because ultimately that will actually boil the fluid in the caliper. So right now in qualifying, the brake ducting that you see is going to be a lot smaller than we see for the race tomorrow. They need to get a bit more cooling into those brakes, even though the cars are achieving pretty high speeds down the straightaway, which adds that. But when you add bigger brake ducts, adds drag to the car, up to 300 pounds of drag when they switch to the race configuration.
Thanks, Calvin. Earlier, we heard Michael Andretti talk about the importance of getting as deep into the corner as you can, and then you've really got to rely on the brakes.
Well, that 1,800 degrees is at the surface of the brake rotor on the disc, and it's not brake fluid boils at around 600, just over 600 C, the best brake fluids now. So they need to figure out a way to keep that heat that's being generated on the rotor from being conducted through the pads, through the pistons, into the calipers. So there's different ways of doing that. Every team has a different way of approaching it. Air is a big part of it. They run these titanium pistons. Sometimes they're actually cross-drilled to provide airflow in the pistons. They run backing plates between the pads, all aimed at trying to keep that heat out of the fluid.
This is Christian Fittipaldi. He desperately needs a good performance in this final round of qualifying. He was 18th, stone last in the field yesterday after electrical problems. Let's talk about a car in the pits at the moment. Here's Derek.
Indeed, Jimmy Vasser, he almost won Long Beach. In fact, the Rahal team, and Bobby Rahal himself is not here this weekend, but the Rahal team of Marcel Jourdain and Jimmy Vasser always strikes me as a team that hasn't quite broken out yet. Vasser, believe it or not, will start his 163rd consecutive start here. And of course, his teammate Michel Jourdain has scored points in every single race this year. And believe it or not, he has done 2,037 laps. There's only been 2,048 for the whole season. But they haven't quite broken out yet to get that success that they seem to suggest they're ready to accept.
Good point, Derek. Despite his reputation as a finisher, Jimmy Vasser has suffered 12 DNFs in his last 30 starts, but he's been on an upward curve again this year. 6 straight top 10s in his last 6 races. We'll be back in a moment to Surfers. Welcome back to Surfers Paradise. Second round qualifying underway. Now here's a look at the top 5. Note that Tony Kanaan in second place has a time slower than the third place man Paul Tracy. That's because Tracy's time, along with Bruno Junqueira, was set in yesterday's first round. Kanaan is the fastest man in today's session. As the fastest man in this session, he could wind up on the outside of the front row. That's why he is currently shown in second place. And Bruno Junqueira will start on the front row. The question is whether he will be pole or outside the front row if someone manages to beat his time yesterday. Right now, Junqueira remains our provisional pole sitter. Let's go to Calvin Fish in the pits.
Well, Bob, I'm here with Bill Pappas, who is Bruno's engineer. The fact that you're locked into the front row, Bill, does that allow you to roll the dice a little bit longer in this session today?
Yeah, basically. We're just going to see what other guys run. They've obviously changed the track again on us. We just want to see, what's going to be the mark to aim for, and then, when we go out, we're going to go for it.
The fact that these guys are pounding the curb so hard, Bill, how does that affect the setup that you have to work with the car on?
Well, it changes it quite a bit. I mean, before we were racing around them, and it was a real racetrack. And now with going over the curbs, it's more like a off-road deal, and we're softening the springs up, the shocks up. So from what we started with, you've probably changed the car quite a bit.
Okay, well, I believe TK has a question for you, Bill. What is it, TK?
Hey, Calvin, the last time that everybody was pounding the curb so hard in Vancouver, the Target guys had 2 suspension failures. Are they concerned with anything about that here?
Yeah, TK was saying when we ran at Vancouver, you guys had some suspension issues when hitting the curves pretty hard. Is the velocity the same here, Bill? Seeing any signs of that, or have you beefed them up?
We're running a little bit heavier duty suspension, but the way we were hitting him in Vancouver is different loading than what we're seeing here.
So you don't expect any drama here?
Not at all.
All right, mate, good luck for this session.
Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks, guys. We are under the red flag. You just saw Christian Fittipaldi spinning to a stop in turn 1, and once again, that will cost him his fast lap in the session, whether he's already turned it or whether it is still to come for the second day in a row. In fact, it was Christian who brought out the first red flag under that new policy. First round qualifying in the season opener in Monterrey, Mexico. We'll take a break and be right back. A year ago at the California Speedway in Fontana, California, a record 73 lead changes were performed among 17 drivers. But here, where Cristiano D'Amato led Max Pappas to a yellow flag with 4 laps to go due to a crash involving Scott Dixon, D'Amato's third win of the season and second in a row was clinched, and with it, a check for $1 million. It's the 500 presented by Toyota. It's coming your way next weekend here on Speed. Practice November 1st, 5 p.m. Eastern Time live. Kart Friday night that evening. Saturday, single car qualifying. Saturday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time live. And then the race itself. Sunday, the pre-race show beginning at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. Race itself at 3:30 Eastern. All coming your way live on Speed Channel. It's one of the many helicopters shuttling guests in and out of the circuit here at Surfers Paradise this weekend. Massive crowd on hand, some 300,000 people expected through the turnstiles this weekend. Let's go to Derek Daly.
As you watch Paul Tracy's crew just stand over him, they have raised his ride heights because they do want it to skim the ground but not bash as hard as they did in that 10-minute session. But an interesting situation arose yesterday with Tracy. Right after he did his demon lap that had him on the pole position, they were actually concerned and afraid to send him back out again to try and go faster in case he went off the road and caused a red. That would throw away his pole position. I don't remember that situation being around earlier this year, but I thought that was a very curious condition to have in qualifying for Tracy.
I can't say I disagree with it, because what resulted in that lap was just some phenomenal chances he had to take and got away with. And because of the nature of this circuit, I can't say that that's a bad call. Obviously at the end, with Bruno doing his lap at the very, very end, it might have bit him. But in terms of weighing all the factors in front of you, that's probably not a bad call.
Now with all these reds coming out, we've only seen one so far. This really breaks your rhythm. You think it takes almost 3 miles to come to the green after you go out of the pits. It takes 3 miles to get to the green, and then you try and get one lap to get the tires heated up and going, and then it's actually the next lap where you're going to see some times. Well, that's a lot of a lap's time, almost about 6 minutes by the time you tie all this together. And then you're on your flyer and a red comes out. Now you've lost the goodie in the tire. You've broken your rhythm. Very difficult. That's what these guys are fighting right now.
And traffic, I would say, is maybe more, we've seen it's been a factor almost everywhere, but it might be more of a factor here because of the long braking zones and the commitment required in those braking zones. You see guys, it might cost you 1/10 of a second, even if you haven't even caught the traffic yet, because you're not quite sure what that guy's doing. So I think after this session, you'll probably hear a lot of guys saying that they had good laps ruined by traffic. So it's a lot of factors to balance.
There's Cristiano Damata, who has yet to turn a lap in this session. He's currently 7th on the provisional grid, and as you see, not wearing his traditional number 6, he's got the number 1 of the 2002 champion on his Newman Haas Lola.
Talk about this track. You go out there, you be very, very aggressive. It pays off big dividends when you take big chances at the same time. Some of those chances, literally, you hold your breath, wanting to pay off. Most of the time, they're paying off. Sometimes, like we've seen all these reds come out, sometimes they don't.
The biggest chances are probably in that the chicane in the back, the longer chicane where they go left, right, that one, because once you get in, if you get a little bit behind the car, carry a little too much speed, you start chasing it, and the problem gets magnified with each successive turn, and pretty soon you're in the fence like Michael Andretti towards the end of the race back here a few years back.
Oriol Servia, the orange Vistion car from Patrick Racing, on the track behind Cristiano Damata. Let's go to Derek Daly.
Quick update on Vassar, which suggests some of the strategy being employed here. Jimmy Vassar's engineer, Todd Boland, just told him, do 2 timed laps. He said if the third is a monster, we'll take it. If not, pit after those 2 timed laps.
They have a lot of time. What we do, we have on a dashboard, you can actually see if you're better or slower than your previous lap. So Jimmy can actually make that determination and come into the pits or stay out. If it's a monster, if it's great, man, pull that sucker. Let's get it to the checker. I mean, let's get it around and get that lap completed. If not, bring it in the pits and make changes and do what we have to do.
Turning off Main Beach Parade onto Breaker Street here at Surfers. Damata not losing Servia behind him. Cerezier Street, down into the hairpin and onto the front straightaway. We watch for the times from Damata and Servia. Calvin Fish has more from the pits.
Well, we talked about the fact that Cristiano was not happy with the braking on his car yesterday. What they really found when they looked at the data, he was in fact hitting under heavy braking, and just a momentary skip of the tires was enough to really cause inconsistency in the braking area. So they raised the car a little bit, which certainly sacrifices the car going through the corners, creating a little bit of understeer. The other thing they do, they stand the tires up here, and Scott could probably address this issue. If you have too much camber in the car, when you get into the braking zones at lower speeds, it's really on a knife edge. You don't have a lot of grip with a very small contact patch. So you run minimal camber around this street circuit.
And the fact you can really stand the tires up around here because the turns are so slow. You're not talking about these long turns you're carrying a lot of speed through.
Here's Adrian Fernandez coming out of the turn 3 runoff. That explains the local yellow flags waving down there when D'Amata and Serbia went through.
And the more you stand those tires up, the more contact patch you have on the ground, the more aggressive you can be. But it's that fine line determining how much camber can we put in the car to get that little extra grip, but how much do we give up under braking?
And look at Cristiano. He's close to the pace. He's only 400ths behind Bruno's pole lap. You saw him really get a clean run through that 7 chicane. Now look at that. Picked up a full 3.5 tenths. So it is on now. He's going to be the first guy to throw down the gauntlet.
Down into the hairpin. Powering off the corner.
Looks like he pushed a little wide in the first part of that turn 11. He's got 3.5 tenths to play with.
Pole.
Whoa, 7 tenths.
1:30.790. And Kenny Brack with a 1:30.971. So both drivers become the first into the 1 minute 30 second zone. This is getting interesting. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Surfers Paradise. Bob Varsha, Tommy Kendall, and Scott Pruitt in the announce booth on the Gold Coast Highway. Down in the pit lane, Derek Daly and Calvin Fish. While we were away, Cristiano D'Amata drove his provisional pole time down to a 1:30.420. So D'Amata is the man at the moment. He is absolutely flying around this place.
Get it, rip it, and let her fly. He's having a blast out there. He's driving over everything.
Let's get more on D'Amata from Calvin Fish.
Well, there's a real grin on everyone's face down here on the Haviland crew when Cristiano D'Amata ripped off that lap. And then when he stayed out, I think the key there is the fact that he's now got 2 fast laps on the board. So even if he created a red, we talked about Tracy's situation yesterday, he would still hold on to that pole position right now unless someone else goes faster, Bob.
All right, thanks very much. Look at that footage of Paul Tracy bounding over the chicane. Amazing stuff.
There's only a few tracks in racing you can pull something like that off. Because, you know, he got messed up going into him, decided just to go straight, and that's a wild ride. That's a little bit of air time.
Ooh, that's that part where I was talking about turn 7 there, where once you're committed, it just gets worse and worse if you've overcommitted. And he gave up early and just tried to straighten it up and hoped that he didn't get too much left or right rudder.
That picture, that replay came to us from our host broadcaster, Network 10 here in Australia, which is why Calvin Fish was unaware of it when it was rolled in.
That's that area. It's a really easy lock to the front. Scott Dixon getting in.
Dixon.
A little bit of smoke coming off that front tire.
Currently 7.
And Shinji Nakano is popped up to 2nd in this session, which puts him 3rd overall. Imagine the disappointment of Kenny Brack at the time that Cristiano put in his demon lap. Kenny Brack comes across the line 6 tenths quicker than Bruno. He's probably thinking, man, I'm a hero. And then, P2, Kenny, P2.
You hate that. You hate it. Been there, hate it.
Bruno Junqueira is out there turning laps. He has 3 in the books right now, but nowhere close to the pace of Cristiano D'Amata. Still, because Junqueira was our provisional pole sitter yesterday, he will start from the front row despite a 1 minute 32.196 second best thus far. Down in 15th place lies Michael Andretti. Derek Daly has more on him.
It's somewhat amusing down here because I think the young guns are beginning to make Michael, who's now 40 years old, feel his age. He came on the radio, and after Kenny did the 30.9, Michael said, holy crap, I can't go that fast. And then D'Amata did his 30.4, so oh, Mikey is just feeling his age here. And then he did say, I guess I'm going to end up in 15th place.
Ouch. Only if he picks it up. He's 16th right now.
Michael, after such a glorious career, has his future laid out as a team owner next year. Watching Jimmy Vasser right now. Vasser currently 8th, despite having improved by 9 tenths of a second from his first round qualifying performance.
PT up to 3rd. Junqueira stepped it up, so he's at 130.7. Tracy 130.7.
Here comes the order across the top of your screen and the lap on which they turned that time, or speed in this case. There's Junqueira, who's got some work to do to defend that pole position. In fact, Junqueira has turned in a 130.711.
This is such a great racetrack this way, where you can be so aggressive with the car, take some big chances, and pay off big dividends.
This is where pride comes in, because he doesn't need to turn a lap to start on the front row tomorrow. So he's decided to say, hey guys, let me go have a go at it. A little bit of lock up there. See if he can go even quicker on this next time by.
Nope, 2/10 off of his best, 130.931. He remains in second place. 7 drivers have already broken yesterday's new track record set by that man, Bruno Junqueira. Derek Daly.
Bob, you talk about braking. Tracy, we believe, has broken his rear suspension. He is on his way. The aggression has not paid out. That may be as fast as you're going to see him go.
We were talking about that earlier. You want to be aggressive, you want to get the job done, but you can't do it if you tear up your race car.
Tora Takagi allowing Bruno Junqueira through. There you see Takagi coming up to speed in his Walker racing machine. And there is Paul Tracy limping around.
See, the left rear is askew. You see the top wishbone there on the left folded up. That's actually, I think, the shrouding on top of the wishbone you see popped up there. The wishbone underneath bent.
This is in the hairpin as Michael Andretti goes by. Paul will head for the pit in. Let's see if we can see what happened to PT. That was already broken by that point as he straight lines the chicanes on the backside. As Tracy heads for the pit lane, let's hear from Calvin Fish with more on Cristiano D'Amata.
Well, D'Amata's team have just belted on his second set of Bridgestone tires, so he's certainly not resting on his laurels. But what is remarkable about this man is the fun personality. TK and I were there at the karaoke contest last night. He's up on stage playing the air guitar, big smile on his face. The crowd has gone ballistic, yet he comes here this morning with his game face on, and right now he's the fastest man out on the racetrack. We just can't imagine Michael Schumacher doing that the night before qualifying.
Oh, new pole sitter Bruno Junqueira just flashed across the line at 1:30.214 to demote Cristiano D'Amata to second. As you watch Adrian Fernandez on track, Fernandez currently 12th. Derek Daly.
Paul Tracy just had a conversation with John Anderson. Anderson said, we were watching you on the monitor and you were 4 feet in the air. What's up with that, you weasel? They're actually changing the top left rear wishbone on the car, and Tracy obviously believes they can change it and get him out for another run. So maybe the weasel will be back out there soon.
There's a good shot, exactly what happened to PT's car. Came off, smacked the wall pretty hard. It wasn't from that jump, it was from hitting the fence.
Yeah, I was going to say, because he actually improved his time after the jump.
There is Bruno Junqueira, your provisional pole sitter, with just under 12 minutes to go in the session. Here's a remarkable fact. Yesterday, when Junqueira and Paul Tracy broke the existing track record held to that point by Dario Franchitti, it marked the first time since the Vancouver round of the season that an existing track record was broken. So through 17 rounds, we've only done it twice in 2002. Here's a look at the current single season pole record. Danny Sullivan with 9 in 1988. If D'Amata can hang on, today would be his 7th, with 2 more chances to tie and then break the single season pole record. We'll be right back to Australia. If it's the weekend, it's time for Speed News here on Speed Channel, 7 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, 30 minutes, and then Sunday it's 30 minutes of NASCAR edition at 7 p.m. Eastern, followed by another 30 minutes of Speed News Sunday with the rest of the news and highlights from the weekend in motorsports. Dave Despain and Ralph Sheen will be standing by to bring you all the latest, so check it out. Saturday and Sunday nights at 7 Eastern, only on Speed Channel. Back in Surfers Paradise, the times are tumbling. Michael Andretti just improved over yesterday's performance. Marginally, he remains in 16th on the provisional grid. At this point, Tora Takagi is the only driver who has not improved from his first round qualifying performance. And Bruno Junqueira continues as our provisional pole sitter by 0.2 of a second over Cristiano D'Amata. As you watch Dario Franchitti, who is currently in 6th, a huge improvement over yesterday.
And a huge story right now is Nakano currently sitting 4th, doing a great run.
Cristiano D'Amata out on fresh tires, coming up to speed. Let's go to Derek Daly.
I'm trying to get Tom Anderson here. Tom, you got to be pretty pleased with your driver, Shinji Nakano here. That's impressive.
We're hoping for a little more. We're getting greedy.
I know. Now, you have a new engineer on the team with Dave Watson. Has that energized this team, Tom, in any way?
Well, we're going with Dave's deal on the Fernandez car, and we're staying with Martin Perret's deal on the Nakano's car. So we got a little inter-team rivalry going today.
Don't get too greedy now. Calvin?
Derek, quick update on the two guys who are leading the pack right now. Bruno Junqueira is back out there, new tyres, a little bit more front wing, so they believe they can improve the car. I spoke to Tim Coffin on Cristiano D'Amato. He said new tyres, gassed it up, and we sent him. But he said we're having a lot of fun out here today. Championship is wrapped up. They're just going for more wins and more poles.
Got to be greedy. This is racing.
In fact, Cristiano D'Amato said it earlier this weekend, no more Mr. Nice Guy. They ran conservatively to clinch the championship 3 weeks ago in Miami. Now, as Calvin just said, they can have some fun.
Well, they said they're having some fun. Scott and I went by there yesterday afternoon, and when they didn't have such a great session, he says they were long faces, everybody was stressed out, so I guess that goes a long way towards explaining why they run as quick as they do all the time, because even though they're in Australia and supposedly having a good time, they weren't P1 and they were miserable.
They were pretty bumpy yesterday. I went down and tried to talk to them, and they said, no, we don't, we got problems. We got to fix them.
Here's a look at our top 10 graphic. The arrow means that driver, in this case Paul Tracy, is in the pit lane. We saw Shinji Nakano a moment ago. Not only is he having one of the best qualifying performances of his season, remember, he is driving with hands that have just recovered from a fire 3 weeks ago in Miami, when fire from a gas leak, a fuel leak, not gas of course, methanol, surged into the cockpit. He leaped out of the car and begged the corner workers to douse him with water. Of course, methanol burns with an invisible flame. He suffered first and second degree burns on his hands, and he has needed every day of those 3 weeks in between to get enough treatment to allow him to drive comfortably. He's doing a great job today.
Big lock up on the front by
P1 Cristiano.
1:30.204, so by a hundredth of a second, Cristiano D'Amato is back on top.
Look how aggressive he can be with the car out there, driving over the curbs. Tony Kanaan politely moved over, not to get in his way. Heavy braking. Back hard and throttle right up against the fence.
Well, he and Junqueira are in a battle of their own as we pick up Bruno, who's ahead on the racetrack. They are each at 1:30.2, 4/10 ahead of their nearest rival. That's Kenny Breck in third. Is there more bad news for Paul Tracy, Derek Daly?
Paul, that was just spectacular stuff, but the track wasn't quite wide enough for the line you were using.
Yeah, I just missed the line a little bit on the entry, and I flew in the air, and it must have broken the suspension. I got 2 more laps in and on it, and then it broke on the straightaway, and that was it. So it's it's frustrating because I thought that I really didn't get my best lap together, all the parts of the track together. But I hope we can stay in the top 4. We'll probably be about 7th or 8th, I would think.
Thank you, Paul. Good luck tomorrow.
Paul, I don't know if that's quite exactly what we saw.
He's under a gag order. He can't tell on himself.
Well, this is one shot that we saw. This is one he's talking about. Big air time. But there's actually another piece that we saw earlier where he actually slapped the fence.
Yep. They said he got 2 more laps in before it broke, so
I don't know if he hit the fence after it broke or it broke after it hit the fence.
The way it broke, he would have felt
let's
that
take a
very
look.
early. Here's another look.
I'd say everything's pretty well in order. And whack.
Oh.
What do you think, Tommy?
Pictures worth 1,000 words.
That'll get the job done.
Another good shot of that. Whoa.
That's a great shot. That wasn't a sonic boom. Let's go to Derek Daly again.
This is the right side of the car. See the tire marks here? This is how close Tracy goes, and this was on the warm-up tires. Look, on the wets earlier. He was just warming up and he hit the wall.
And you wonder why we like to watch him?
Mr. Excitement. Here's a look at Kenny Breck, currently in third, trying to come to terms with the 2 guys ahead of him, D'Amato and Junqueira, looking for 4/10 from somewhere.
On his way into the pits.
All right, 3 minutes to go. Deep breath, everyone. Cinch up the belts. Let's see what you got.
Is is time to dig deep. This is when the guys get paid the big bucks. Put it on the edge.
Right now,
it just began a hot lap.
PT that time, even though he knocked the suspension out of alignment, he's still in fourth right now. So everybody's taking a stab at him. But okay, now Tony Kanaan bumps him down one more spot.
Tony's working hard.
If it's out there, we can drive over it. Free game.
If you unbuild it, we will come.
Tracy, Serbia, and Fernandez are in the pits as the seconds tick away on this final qualifying session. D'Amata ahead of Kanaan on the road.
This is when it gets real difficult trying to get that lap in without getting caught up in traffic. Guys have been in and out of the pits, making changes, putting new tires on. Everybody's kind of in a different sequence right now, so it's really tough to get a clear lap at this point.
Now the 15-lap rule will come into effect. The only driver who's completed all 15 of his allotted laps is Oriol Servia. But several drivers are on the brink, among them Brack, Adrian Fernandez, Jourdain Fittipaldi, and Tora Takagi.
I remember the first years coming here, Michael was one of the most spectacular guys. Straight over the curbs. In fact, the race that Tommy was talking about earlier, he was behind me, and we were running right there towards the end of the race. He tried to straight line through the back chicane. 1, 2, 3, pop into the fence.
And that year in '94 with that Reynard, he was probably the guy. I said if one guy goes there and gains an event and everybody has to, I would probably maybe credit Michael with starting the onslaught of the attacking the curbs.
A minute to go, and D'Amata heads for the pits. Now yesterday, Bruno Junqueira set his fast lap, then headed for the pits, and had to wait to see what this man D'Amata would do. As it turned out, D'Amata could not catch his boyhood buddy and karting rival. Now D'Amata will have to wait to see what Junqueira can do.
Junqueira's got 3 laps left. Actually 2 time laps because there's 1 lap coming in.
Won't have enough time to use them all. There he is.
That did not look like a lap of a guy who's going for it.
I don't think so. And he won't get another.
I'd say he's done.
Well, they picked up a championship bonus point yesterday for a provisional pole that put him 15 points ahead of Dario Franchitti for second place in the championship at a $500,000 bonus. Looks like Cristiano D'Amata will pick up the other one with his 7th pole of the year. Checkered flag.
Okay, it turns out Bruno was trying to answer back, but he didn't make turn 1, had to go through the shortcut, and so that lap was scrapped.
So by 1/100th of a second, man, they call shorty right there. Cristiano D'Amata has his 7th pole of the season. Last driver to do that, won Pablo Montoya back in the year 2000.
Tony's still in a hot lap here. See if he can improve. Currently sitting 3rd. No, on his way in. You put your shiniest bullets in the gun and go to town.
Rocky Roekelin speaking with Cristiano D'Amata. Rocky was very emotional 3 weeks ago when D'Amata clinched his championship. Oh, there's Junqueira going off on
Turn
the backside
6.
chicane. Yep. And with that, the engines go quiet up and down the pit lane. Cristiano D'Amata, still studying those speed charts, wants to be darn sure that he has actually grabbed that 7th pole of the season. We'll hear from him in a moment.
Well, Cristiano D'Amata's having a lot of fun watching the monitor there. He and Bruno were fighting out for the pole position. Chris, let's have a quick chat with you here, mate.
I go more over the curbs and he opens away from a gap from me. What's up with that?
Talking to Rocky here. 7th pole of the year. You got to be happy here down under, having a lot of fun at the same time. Championship in the bag as well.
Yeah, I'm for sure having a lot of fun. This track is my favorite street course. I don't think it can get much better than this track here. All these chicanes is very challenging, a lot of hard braking. It's good. This is a track that you can really attack, and I'm very, very pleased to be on pole today. I think we'll have a good race car for tomorrow too, and we'll see what we can have.
30.4 in the bag, and then you came in, no changes as I understand, just new tires, and you had to go back out there and find those 2/10. You know that Bruno went faster. How hard was it to dig deep today?
On the second set especially was a little bit more difficult. My car was very, very well balanced on the first set, but I screwed up one of my laps. That could have been a very good one. And on the second set, everything was fine. We just had a clear run. Just pleased.
All right, awesome job today. Let's go down to Double D.
With Bruno Junqueira. Bruno, the front row is impressive for most people, but you look like a man that's very, very frustrated.
Yeah, I was really frustrated. I was the fastest guy today on the track. On the first set, I was on the pole by 2/10 over Cristiano. On the second set, I don't know, I had a problem with the right front tires. Since the outing lap, I felt it strange. I pushed, but I knew that I couldn't brake. And very frustrated, to lose a pole for 100 of a second. And this year has been a lot of times that I was so close of Cristiano, and by a little bit, like some race I finished just next close of him, and 2 or 3 times, and I qualified a lot of times. It's kind of frustrating. Everything's going to Cristiano way this year. It's tough, he's a good driver, but it's tough.
He's a good driver, but Bruno wants him to share the spoils a little bit here. But you know what? He's got a golden chance tomorrow to reverse it.
Well, tough break for Bruno Junqueira, missing out on pole position, or maybe he's sorry because his day-old lap record was broken, not by one driver, but 11 drivers under the lap record set yesterday. Here's a look at where they stand. Cristiano D'Amato will start alongside Bruno Junqueira on row 1, Tony Kanaan and Kenny Breck on row 2. Paul Tracy's time stood up for 5th. Scott Dixon jumped up late in the session on his last lap, in fact, to grab 6th place. Shinji Nakano was 4th, slipped back to 7th. Still a good job. Dario Franchitti got the good performance he needed to get away from being the caboose on this field. That honor will go to Mario Dominguez, a rookie. Good job on a very tough track to learn in a one-car team. There is the pole flag in the hands of Cristiano D'Amato, as it has been 6 times previously this year. We'll be back with more in a moment. Speed Channel's coverage of the Kart FedEx Championship Series is brought to you by Bridgestone, advanced technology that gives you a grip on the future. By Circuit City. We know the excitement you feel about the latest digital toys. That's why we're here. Circuit City, we're with you. And by FedEx, proud sponsor of the FedEx Championship Series. Welcome back to Surfers Paradise. The action continues, but qualifying for Sunday's Honda Indy 300 is now complete. And here's how the championship standings look after Cristiano D'Amato grabbed his 7th pole of the season and a championship bonus point, bringing his total to 213. I believe he can total the 2nd highest in kart history this year. I don't think he can catch Alex Zanardi's record, which is about 285, I think. Bruno Junqueira also picked up a championship bonus point. There'll be 1 in tomorrow's race for the most laps led. And of course the 20 points that will go to the race winner. Let's get.
Seems like winning a championship seems like everything just goes your way. Bruno was kind of mentioning that earlier, and not to say it's ever easy because it takes a lot of work, but when
between the two is in that second year, everything just kind of went your way. And when you're the guy to beat, sometimes that puts extra pressure on everybody else, and they make your job easier by pressing harder. They don't actually do as well as if they had been relaxed. So it tends to snowball.
Among those drivers who moved up from their qualifying performance in the first round, Kenny Breck picked up 9 spots. Same for Dario Franchitti. Christian Fittipaldi picked up 5 places. Among those who moved backwards, Michael Andretti lost 7 spots, Tora Takagi 6, and Michel Jourdain Jr. 5. So Jourdain qualifies outside the top 10. He has only 1 top 10 start this year. Still, he has that amazing string of 16 consecutive points-paying finish. 18 over 2 seasons. Here's a look at Cristiano D'Amato's season to date. Remember this moment when he banged wheels with Shinji Nakano? Somehow did not hurt the car and came through to claim the win. Qualifying at Laguna Seca, lost the engine in his car, drove around, irritating all of the other drivers because he was not hit with a red flag and lost the pole lap. Picked up another victory. Portland International Raceway. Kenny Brack dominated, then lost a wheel off his car. D'Amata raced to the finish, pressed hard by Bruno Junqueira. Big smooch there from car owner Carl Haas. Chicago Motor Speedway, nobody thought Shorty could get it done on the ovals. He proved them wrong, winning the race. Exhibition place in Toronto. A couple of controversial attempts at the start. Paul Tracy tried to snooker D'Amata once, but Alex Zanardi waved him off. And then Zanardi, who stayed up there on the tower the entire race, waved the double checkers over D'Amata. Road America, once again, Shorty was dominant and donned a cheesehead to salute the Wisconsin race fans. And 3 weeks ago in downtown Miami, Florida, D'Amata beat a very difficult race course and an incident-filled race to grab his 6th win of the year and the Vanderbilt Cup, emblematic of the season championship. Looks like the water ski show or the wakeboarding show is kicking up down on the Nerang River. Now that the microphones are fixed, let's go to Derek Daly.
Here with Kenny Brack, who finishes 4th. Kenny, you threw a time in there that sent everybody scurrying because you were at the top of the heap there for a while. But it all looks quite good still.
I think so. We were first out yesterday. We got we had some bad traffic and some red. So today we got out probably first of all on the new tires, and still had a red. But then we did a rerun on them and then set that time. So that was good. But then in the end, we weren't out there all the way to the end because we started early, but I think we're very good where we're at right now. Obviously, 1st is better than 4th, but 4th is better than 5th.
Kenny, can drivers be as rough and aggressive tomorrow during the race as we see them today in practice and qualifying?
What are you talking about?
I believe he says yes, they will be.
Of course they will, Double D. They're racing drivers. We're looking forward to seeing Kenny Brack with his guitar in hand and the rest of the Super RPM band at Cara's Runway Madness at Fontana next weekend. You can buy tickets to the event. Just check it out on the Cara website, CARAUX.org on the internet. Now let's go to Calvin Fish, who's going to try to sneak in and get a word from Tony Kanaan.
Well, 3 Brazilians on the front of the grid tomorrow. You've had a lot of fun this week, and it continues, it looks like.
Well, it was great. I was talking, I think you guys saw us before qualifying, the 3 of us talking, and we said, hey, it wouldn't be great if we started in the top 3, and Bruno was saying, hey, it would be great because all the chicks will look at me, you know, so I think
Bruno's searching pretty hard, isn't he?
Oh, yeah, man. No, he's so ugly that, you know.
He can't sing either.
No, he's terrible. I mean, I don't even try, but he's terrible. But, no, it's great to see Cristiano up there. I mean, Jesus, Cristiano's been up there forever, but to join the 3 of us, we came a long ways, and I'm quite happy. So we did a great job. I think I took the most out of the car today. So.
All right, Tony, great job out there. Go get him tomorrow.
We will. Thank you.
After seeing the Brazilians run around in their Speedos, Jimmy Vasser has labeled Tony Kanaan the leader of the Brazilian bikini team. So they've been terrorizing the beaches down here.
Well, they don't hold back on their buddies. I mean, they just lay it right out there on the line. He is so ugly.
These guys
Tony.
just love ribbing each other. We're having a great time, and the fun will continue through tomorrow's Honda Indy 300. Round 17 of the Kart FedEx Championship Series for 2002. Join us for exclusive live coverage here on Speed Channel beginning at 11:30 Eastern Time. That's 8:30 Pacific. Only on Speed. All right, gentlemen, time to lay it on the line. Final thoughts, Scott Pruitt?
Got to go with Cristiano. Everything's been clicking for him. He showed he could lay one down. They want to put a new stamp in the record books.
How about you, TK?
Well, I just look for, I think the pace tomorrow with the aggression that they're going to have to exhibit to stay in front. You either need to maintain that or you're going to get passed over, and it's hard to do that every lap for 200 miles.
It's going to be great fun, and we hope